Up after the break, we'll take a look at.
Pardon the interruption for a very important news update.
This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is your holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther, farther, farther. Theme hits loud, then the grips come off. Call out the card, call every payoff. Botches, legends, titles, and heat. Pay-per-view nights, run it back, repeat. They slam, we analyze. Move for move, every feud, every bruise, every gleaming moon. This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is your holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. No script, just true. Every jab breaks through. From the bell to the brawl. Name the show. We want it all. 1, 2, 3. This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is no holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther.
All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the very first edition of No Holds Barred Wrestling Channel's WCW Monday Nitro Rewind. I'm Bobby Melendez, co-host of the No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast, going solo tonight on this special series that I'm doing, something that is near and dear to my heart as a wrestling fan, to help raise me as a wrestling fan, which was WCW. And starting off, my goal for this show is to go back and watch all of the WCW, starting from episode 1 and so forth, and talking about that episode, recapping, breaking it down as if I was watching it for the very first time. So I'm just excited to do that with this episode. Josh will, of course, is doing Dynamite. We'll be doing other different types of programs and series on the No Holds Barred Wrestling Channel. But this is one of those special type of projects that we are doing. It's later in the evening, so you might be watching this post-live show, which is understandable. I have some time now. Kids are getting in bed and all this one. So I'm going to do this now. Let's do it. Let's rock. It won't be long. We'll get through it, and we'll get going on the next episode for episode 2 of Nitro. Let me tell you, man, this was just so cool. I love what got me to do this was doing the WrestleMania Rewind series with Josh and just getting a chance to go back in time and watch WrestleMania and see these old legends and you know, really enjoy wrestling as a fan. I don't think a lot of us do that anymore. You know, I was just reading on Twitter earlier today, you know, people were pissed. Oh, Brock Lesnar beat Obafemi. This is not what Oba should be going over. It's like, you know, stop being the booker. Just be the fan. And that's what watching these WrestleManias have done for me. Kind of remind me of that. Of stop, just enjoy the story. And that's kind of what this was when watching Nitro episode 1 today. First off, shout out to DSG in the comments. Yes, Josh has been asleep for a while. This is way past his bedtime. So, you know, obviously why I'm doing this alone. But again, this is my project and he knows and he's excited for it as well. But just watching when wrestling mattered, or for me at least, it was just based off the story and just enjoying and having fun. This was really cool. First off, starting off Nitro episode 1 at Mall of America. This is when Eric Bischoff had decided that he was going to go toe to toe with the WWF and Vince McMahon. So this was their debut show. They did it in Mall of America in Minnesota, which is kind of a cool setting. I really like that it was there. You know, I like the kind of like the close environment of the fans, kind of kept it personal. And, you know, you got people in the escalators kind of going up and down watching and what's going on. Only 3 matches. You know, DSG, Josh kind of missed out. This was a good show to talk about, and this is a good show to watch because there was only 3 matches on this 1-hour program. Nowadays, it's 3 hours, 2 hours, depending on what you're watching, Raw or SmackDown. And it's 7 matches, 8 matches. You're watching AEW. Here's only 3. And the 2 good ones, one, which is fine because that was not the most important one because that's not the important thing that happened in that third match, which, of course, was the main event. But a lot happened in this hour that was interesting. First off, again, Mall of America. Commentary team was Eric Bischoff, Steve McMichael, which is his debut appearance on WCW. Rest in peace, Steve Mongo McMichael, formerly of the Horsemen, former Chicago Bear, one of the greats, but also a commentator. And, he does a good job kind of going head to head with Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan, who continues to say, I'm a journalist. Just really cool to see him there and how he just brings that comedic element to it. The classic Nitro theme, the intro, just loved it. That got me hyped up right away. As soon as I press play, here comes the intro, got me fired up like I was a kid again. The first match, they start off fast and quick, is Flying Brian Pillman taking on Jushan Tiger Liger. This was really cool to kind of get that different vibe that we're seeing from the WWE or the WWF at that time. Eric Bischoff wanted to be different. He wanted to bring in the luchadors. He wanted to bring in the high flyers. He wanted to kind of show those guys off, and which we know if you grew up watching WCW, eventually we get the Rey Mysterios and the Eddie Guerreros and the Dean Malenkos and so forth down that line. Those and the technical guys, Benoit and so forth. But here you get Flying Brian Pillman going against Jushan Tiger Liger. This was a fun, high-flying match, fast-paced. They were doing things that, you wouldn't expect the Hogans and even the Savages to do, which they didn't need to do, but you wouldn't expect to see that out of your heavyweight guys, the main eventers. But you got that out of these guys, which kind of set the tone for the event, but also said at the same time, this is how WCW Nitro is going to be different from Monday Night or Monday Night Raw, Raw is War at that moment in time. The match, again, wasn't too long. Wasn't, I think it was like 6 minutes, something like that. But still fun to watch, fun, especially if you're a young fan. My son got into it. The one thing I don't like about the high flyers I saw in that match was, Pillman kind of waited for, he already was up and, got up from the floor or from the mat, and he waited for Liger to come and do his backflip on top of him. I don't really like that. That's why I'm not a big fan too much with that type, unless it's fast paced. That's why I love Samoa Joe. Nowadays Joe does the walk away. He sees a guy doing it, he'll just walk off. I wish guys would do that more. I wish they did it back then, but still pretty cool. Brian Pillman hits the spinning DDT. Again, I love the commentators, Eric Bischoff, McMichael, and Heenan, even though they're kind of bickering back and forth, especially towards Heenan, 2 against 1. What I love is the energy they put into these moves. It's like every time, especially when these guys are doing something, the Brian Pillman and Liger, when they do moves, these guys are pushing it out there. They're really hyping it up. Like, oh my God, and it gets the fans pumped up, especially those watching who can't be there in the audience to enjoy it live. They are reacting because the commentators are reacting. You don't really get that nowadays. They're always kind of sidestepping everything else. They're always kind of promoting something else or whatever. Now these guys are just reacting to the moves and telling the story in the ring. I really enjoyed the commentary on this program. The one thing I kept noting, thank God I don't drink, because I was like, if I drank and I had to do shots, I would do a shot every time I say, with the big boys play, kind of like WWE Universe. It's where the big boys play. So just very interesting. Anyway, Pillman, about towards the end of the match, hits the spinning DDT, which the guys make a big pop for. Liger kicks out, which is shocking, but then Pillman hits that stand-up, roll-up, 1, 2, 3 pin, takes the win, and both guys good sportsmanship, shake hand, wave to the crowd and leave. No real story there, just 2 guys going in and competing and getting the heck out of there. The next I was really excited for. That next match was the United States title on the line against Sting and Ric Flair. Before that, we had a Sting promo, the Surfer Sting, who, if we all, probably the AEW fans who are younger don't really know Surfer Sting. I tell you, go back and watch Surfer Sting. We all know Crow Sting, which is epic and legendary, but Surfer Sting was on a whole other level. But you get the Sting promo, and then you get Hogan Pastamania. I'll tell you, I know Kimmel would have flipped out if he saw that. He would have rolled his eyes so hard, his head probably would have been stuck in the back of his head. His eyes would have been stuck in the back of his head. It was hilarious, but yeah, you got Pastamania and Hogan, the Pastamaniac's brother, and the Pastamania, and just really cool. And now you see like everything with sponsorships. He didn't get to get the Foreman grill, so he got Pastamania, and of course that went down the drain. But you go on, get to the United States title match, Ric Flair versus Sting. First off, the two guys come out. Flair's in his orange robe. You know, you can never turn around. You can never turn the screen or not pay attention when you see Flair at that age, and it's closer to his prime than post-prime, and Sting in his prime going at it. But very early on, before the match even starts, these two guys get in the ring before the match starts. Rick, I think, is taking off his robe, and Lex Luger shows up. Yes, in the vampire-style T-shirt. I don't know why he decided I'm going to wear that today, but he does. He does show up. The announce team of Bobby Heenan and Eric Bischoff, they react. You know, Bischoff, what the hell is he doing here? Get him out of here. Call security. Bobby Heenan playing heel, saying he probably deserves to be, probably has a ticket. Leave him alone. He's fine. Security comes, ushers out Luger. It's kind of chaos. They're saying we need to get information in the back. How did he get in here? They really do a good job playing it up. Sting and Ric Flair kind of play it off really well as well, kind of looking at each other, kind of stopping what they're doing, paying attention to Luger. Why is he there? What's going on? Those guys do a great job. But then the contest starts. Luger's out. Flair and Sting start. And my goodness, what a treat. What an awesome match. Sting, first of all, is so much fun to watch, especially during this era. You know, the hype he puts behind the fans. He's fun. He's first off, he's fast. He's strong. High energy, strong. I mean, I don't know how many times he pressed Ric Flair, kept lifting Ric Flair and tossing him over, lifting Ric Flair and tossing him over. And no selling the hell out of Ric Flair. I mean, from the chops to the body slams, jumps right back up. Flair kind of goes, whoa. And Flair's so good at making other people look strong. And when he plays the coward, really cool. But a great match. These two, Flair helped put Sting on the map back in, towards the NWA days. When Sting first showed up, and he had a little bit of a tail back here, and short buzz cut and a tail, or the high top and the tail. So, but these two are so good with each other. Like every time I watch Sting and Flair, obviously Flair and Steamboat, Flair and Terry Funk, Flair and whatever, Harley Race, so forth. Great, unbelievable matches. But Flair and Sting, to me, they're like wrestling soulmates. They know each other so well. Like you could, like these guys, I don't think they really ever talk to each other in the ring. It's so smooth. This match was just like that. It was a great match throughout. Ends up going in a no contest though, because Flair eventually, Arn Anderson comes out while this match is going on. I guess in a show prior to this Nitro, Flair and Arn Anderson had words, obviously famous for the Four Horsemen, best friends, etc. But obviously they're not on the same page. Anderson comes out, commentary team's wondering what the hell is going on. Why is he here? Maybe they made up. Sting gets distracted, gets caught up into the figure four. Looks like Flair is about to win. Well, first he's not. He's no selling Sting, but Flair continues to hold it on. Arn rolls into the ring, rips Rick's leg off of Sting, stops the hold. They call a no contest. The referee calls for the match, no contest. Rick and Arn Anderson start trading blows outside the ring. They're going at it. Sting is standing there going, I don't know what the heck just happened. They leave. Then Scott Norton shows up. Scott Norton later will be a part of the NWO, but Scott Norton shows up screaming at Bischoff. First Heenan, then Mongo, then Bischoff. I love that they don't pretend that Bischoff is not the boss, because right away Bobby Heenan's like, that's the guy you need to be yelling at, not me. And Bischoff is telling him, get out of here. You don't belong here. You're not getting whatever, So I love that they kind of do that, or they kind of reference that he is the boss, that he's just the commentary team. They didn't do that with McMahon right away. But as that's going on and he's screaming at them, here comes the Macho Man, Randy Savage. There's no microphones. The crowd can't hear it. The TV audience can, because the camera's so close. But Macho is basically like, hey, you want some right here? Let's go right now. They make a match for next week. Look forward to seeing that on Nitro 2. What was really cool was seeing the promo tease, the video package for Sabu. That just tells you kind of where WCW was at the time. We're trying to bring in these type of talents into WCW to be different from the WWF, to bring in someone like Sabu, who will have his debut match on Nitro 2, which I can look forward to watch and get into. The third match, of course, is the WCW title match. Hulk Hogan against, get ready for this, Big Bubba Rogers. You say, who? Who the heck is Big Bubba Rogers? Well, if you're a WWFE fan, you're going to know Big Bubba Rogers as the Big Boss Man. Yes, that's right. The Big Boss Man, famous in the WWF, WWE, is Big Bubba Rogers in the WCW, and he's in the main event of the very first Nitro against Hulk Hogan for the WCW Championship. Interesting. Actually, right before that match, Michael Wall Street, IRS, formerly IRS, Michael Wall Street, cuts a promo about his coming up match the week after. So Hogan comes out. First comes Bubba Rogers. Okay. Out comes Hogan with the American-made theme. You know, again, love Real American. You can always get pumped up with that theme. But I think American-made, the WCW version of Hogan's music, is above that. I love that song. Anyway, match is fine. Typical Hogan match. Nothing really exciting. You know, you got the heel, the big heel. He gets a little on Hogan. Hogan gets a little on him. Back and forth, back and forth. Now Hogan is railing on Big Bubba. He's not stopping. The referee's trying to slow him down. Then Hogan turns, and we get a taste of heel Hogan again. If you watch the WrestleMania series, Hogan kind of pulled that at WrestleMania 9. Me and Josh were talking about it with Brutus Beefcake. Hogan does the same thing here. He goes and starts threatening the referee. The referee's going at him like, I'm going to punch you too. And Hogan's looking at him, and I'm going, oh, well, there we go. Got heel Hogan again. And here's another heel thing. Here comes Jimmy Hart. He's at Hogan's corner. Jimmy Hart has been a heel manager all through his career up until Hogan. Distracts the referee, throws his jacket in the ring, distracts the referee. Hogan puts the jacket over Big Bubba to blind him and starts beating the hell out of him in the corner. And I'm saying Hogan's a heel. Big Bash at the Beach is not such a surprise anymore. WrestleMania 9 is not so much controversy anymore. Hogan didn't steal any spotlight. He's just a bad guy. And then this WCW Nitro pulls it off here too. We see a taste of heel Hogan in this situation. Hogan finally does the 1, 2, 3 punches. Big boot, big leg. 1, 2, 3. Rogers is out. Loses the match. Hogan is celebrating. Out comes the Dungeon of Doom. They start attacking Hogan. Right away, Luger comes out to make the save. They bump backs. Hogan and Luger are about to go at it. Sting and Macho Man come running in the ring to separate them. They're screaming at each other. Here comes Mean Gene. They cut a promo on each other. One thing I found really interesting, Hogan's like, Luger, I know, what are you doing here? You don't belong in my yard. What are you, blah, blah, blah. Luger says, you're the real world champion. I've been where you've been. I've beaten who you've beaten. I'm sick and tired playing with little boys. I want to be where the big boys play. So not only do they take a shot at the WWF, but state again, this is where the big boys play. Hogan says, you don't have to wait till next week. You don't have to wait till next month. You get me next Monday. So basically next week, Hogan again being Hogan. But still sets the main event for the following week. We get another world championship match for Nitro 2, Hogan versus Luger. Luger, of course, being the guy that McMahon thought, like the Warrior and so many, that Lex would probably be the next Hulk Hogan. Was not the case. We get Hogan Luger the following week, which I am looking forward to. Justin, my man, my brother, how are you? Good to see you in there. Appreciate you joining me at this late hour. Talking about Nitro 1. So, going to say again, I love that it was only an hour. I love that we got basically a taste of everything here. You got the newcomers, or, again, the high flyers with Tiger Liger and Brian Pillman. You got Sting versus Flair. Arn Anderson, who's one of my favorite professional wrestlers. There's guys like my favorite wrestlers, like, greats. Savage, Hogan, Flair, like those, Sting. Yes, I love those guys, and they're great in their respective thing. But then there's professional wrestlers. Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, Arn Anderson, Scott, those are like, my favorites. And when it comes to in the ring, but that match right there, Flair and Sting, was just amazing. I mean, for something that ended in a no contest in the center of that card, I think would have drew me in to WCW. If I was a WWF fan and I'm watching Nitro for the first time and I'm sick of kind of baby children stuff, which you still get in WCW during this time frame. We'll get there when we get there. But, if I tune into WCW Nitro and first I see these high flyers and Pillman and Liger flying and doing spinning DDTs and splashes and doing all this type of stuff, I'm going to get very intrigued. And then you go to two legends and Sting and Flair, who have a freaking banger, in my opinion. It's in a short time that ends in no contest with Arn Anderson, who's a brawler. That's going to draw me in. And of course, then you go, man, but oh crap, there's Hogan, and Luger's there. And like Justin says, Luger's showing up. To us, especially now, we're kind of like, okay, whatever. Maybe you weren't the biggest fan of Luger as most, or maybe like Josh, who said he didn't like Luger. He doesn't like Luger as a wrestler back in the day. That still was a big deal. Luger was on WWF television not too long before that. So to show up on WCW, it felt raw, no pun intended, and real. So it kind of set the tone for what's to come with Nitro. And again, if you're any kind of WCW buff or even wrestling buff, the Monday Night Wars and what's to come, which of course is Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, the Outsiders, and eventually the NWO. However, leaving this card as a wrestling fan, not thinking about, if I was the booker, I would if you want to play booker, I wouldn't put Big Bubba Rogers in the main event against Hulk Hogan on the very first Nitro. I think you try to do like a bigger deal match, you try to figure that out, but obviously you want to have Hogan in there, and I guess you want to have some big bad guy and whatever, but that's probably what I would have changed. But other than that, really, the truth is, if the card stays the same, I'm still very happy with this show. I think it kind of, yes, there's a lot of Hogan, which of course he's the superstar of that show of WCW. Bischoff has tied the wagon to Hogan to lead him out of the second place to WWF. And so you're going to get a lot of Hogan. Pastamania, brother. That's what it was. And then, of course, though, you get a little bit of the Macho Man. You don't really see Macho take any bumps, obviously, because it was just, hey, I don't even think there was a lot of stars in the back, I think, or wrestlers. I think Bischoff had the guys who were there. You're going to work. You're not. Don't come in. We got it, and move on. And I think that's how it kind of played out. But I think as we get to Nitro 2, I think you're in a smaller arena, but you're going to see a lot more action. I don't know if it's going to be 3 matches, but 3 matches worked. I'm just very excited for this type of show to kind of go back and watch. You kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, especially when you get to that NWO era. But again, getting the chance to watch these guys pre that, during, and post, it's going to be very interesting. If you're new to the channel, if you're watching this on the No Holds Barred Wrestling channel, do me a favor, hit that subscription button. Even if this is not your type of show, we have all types of shows that will be on this channel. Of course, we got the Dynamite weekly series that Josh will do on Thursdays. No specific time right now. Might be in the afternoons. We got the No Holds Barred Wrestling podcast on Saturdays. We continue our WrestleMania Rewind series on that. And on Thursdays, of course, at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Forgive me if I'm butchering that, but around that time frame, FTSN Extra, and also No Holds Barred Wrestling channel. You have Real Talk Wrestling, which is talks about wrestling, current events, WWE, AEW, etc. If you're watching this on the FTSN, the Finns Talk Sports Network, thank you for doing that. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscription button. We got everything here: Dolphins, Heat, Marlins, wrestling, it's fantasy sports. We got it all. If you like what we're talking about and you're like, man, I want to get to that channel, go ahead and search No Holds Barred Wrestling channel. You'll find us. Hit that subscription button, hit subscribe to FTSN, and join us for the ride. Love doing this. This is exciting. I'm looking forward to watching Nitro episode 2. And once I do that, could be tomorrow, could be in a couple days, I'll drop these episodes on, most likely on the No Holds Barred Wrestling channel. So if you want to watch it on the No Holds Barred Wrestling channel. I appreciate y'all. Enjoy your night, your Tuesday night, and have a great Wednesday. Good night, everybody.